Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom. It's time now for a look at what's making headlines in the international papers this Friday. And for that, I'm joined by our press reviewer, Caterina Vitozzi. Caterina, thanks for being with us. The International Herald Tribune then are leading with a story about the crisis in Syria, but they've got rather a different account of the battle in Aleppo.
Yeah, that's right. As you can see here. International Herald Tribune, war in Syria makes for a daily struggle to survive. Now, they have talked to a man who simply wanted to be known as her. He's a rich Syrian businessman who lives in Aleppo, and in fact, he was kidnapped. Now, he wasn't kidnapped by, as he at first thought, it may have been government troops. He wasn't kidnapped by rebels. It was just, in fact, a criminal gang. And what the Tribune go on to investigate is how, within the sort of security vacuum that's developed in Aleppo, how criminal activity is increasing, how gangs like this are sort of generally engaging in increasing lawlessness across the whole city, making daily life for residents that live there, who had, to be honest, been pretty much unaffected by the very sort of localised clashes in between rebels and government troops, how they know they're really starting to feel this conflict infringing on their daily life. You know, people say that they don't go into the streets with money in their pockets. The women hide their jewellery, and men do not take their valuable belongings. So the Tribune taking a really interesting look at this story. The rebels, according to an article in The Guardian, they said they've been trying to fill this security vacuum, but there was a really interesting little graphic in The Guardian today to show just what they're up against. You've got the 325,000 government fighters versus 70,000 Free Syrian army fighters. Now, I must stress, this is across the whole of Syria. You also see 5,000 government tanks versus an estimated 14 for the rebels. But what is really crucial to this battle, as The Guardian points out, is that when it's conflict like this, which is a very urban conflict, you've got rebels sort of cached in small areas, very heavily built up areas. It's not so much the tanks that makes the difference, it's weapons like rocket-propelled grenades. And this is something which they're saying is really the lack of these rocket-propelled grenades is what is really making or breaking the battle for them in Aleppo.
OK, well, we're going to move on now to China and the trial of Gu Kailai, which has sort of made headlines worldwide, really. But what's the coverage been like in the domestic press in China?
Well, it's really interesting. It sort of depends whereabouts you are in the region. Now, as you said, this big case making headlines across the world, wife of a top politician in this murder trial. The Chinese language press in mainland China have been very muted with their coverage. It's been sort of deep within the newspapers, around page 13, after news of the Olympics and the weather. If you move a little bit further away from mainland China to the South China Morning Post, which is based out of Hong Kong, you see that it's made the front pages there. Gu Kailai poured poison into Haywood's mouth. So, they're taking a little bit, well, obviously straight on their front page. Also inside the Morning Post, we see they're carrying the story about how journalists weren't allowed into the trial. You see photographs of people being kept outside trying to get information. They also make a very interesting point about how social network sites in China during yesterday's trial experienced some, well, they call it glitches. If you did searches on Weibo, for example, which is sort of the Chinese version of Twitter, if you did searches under the name Hefei, which is the location where the trial was, Kailai, the websites would stop working. So that was an interesting little point they made.
Certainly interesting, the discrepancy in coverage there across China. Finally, the Olympics, of course. We can't avoid it at the moment, and we don't want to avoid it either because it's great. Exactly. Lots of coverage of course, Usain Bolt's victory.
Absolutely.
200 metres.
Front page of The Independent, Usain Bolt, lightning bolt strikes twice, citing his clean sweep, not in just this Olympics, but the last Olympics. Obviously, Jamaican newspapers have gone crazy. The Gleaner sent down a journalist to see what was happening in a place called Halfway Tree. It's a little town in Kingston. Everyone there was going crazy. Needless to say that not only were people in Jamaica very excited by this, as you can see in some of the pictures behind me, but the International Herald Tribune said, hey, let's see what the Curiosity the Mars rover is doing. What are the aliens doing on Mars? Well, according to them, they're watching Usain Bolt as well.
Excellent stuff. They could indeed have sent those pictures back just last night. Thank you very much indeed, Caterina, for that look at today's international newspapers. Well, that's it from the France 24 newsroom for now. Thanks for joining us. More very soon. Do stay with us.